Dave. Talks about John places a dot on a coordinate plane at a negative 10, negative 4. So I'm going to draw my number line to make my coordinate graph. Coordinate graph is just like having two number lines. I go, here is my x axis, here's my y axis. If you do not label it, label it. Then I'm going to go, it's a negative 10, so I'm going to go to the left, negative 10, and then I go down to the negative 4. So negative 10, negative 4. Put my dot there. Label that coordinate. Then it says that I need to go, I need to place another dot across the y-axis. So this is the y-axis. So it's going to stay here, and I need to go across the y. So what is moving is my x. So the y will stay at a negative 4 because it's just the x that is moving. And I'm moving it to the right, and it says 14 points. So this is where adding integers comes in handy. I take the negative 10 and I add 14. One's negative, one's positive, so I subtract. 14 minus 10 is 4, and I keep the sign of the bigger number, which would be the positive. So my new coordinate now is 4, comma, negative 4. And you could have done it where I count backwards 14. That's fine too, using the number line. Number 2, use order of operations to solve this problem. Order of operations means you start in parentheses. So 32 divided by 2 is
16.
16. Then I do exponents. 3 cubed is like saying 3 times 3 times 3. 27. So I 27, bring down my minus, bring down the plus, and the 7. Now if I say, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, adding would come first and then subtraction, but when they are in the same fact family, which is adding and subtracting, you just go left to right. So I do 27 minus 16 and I get 11. And because 7 minus 6 is 1, 2 minus 1 is 1. And then I do 11 plus 7, which would be 18. And there's your final answer.
I got
3 says the morning temp in Atlanta, Georgia is 21 and 1/4 degrees Celsius during the day. It warms up 6 and 2/7 degrees Celsius. What is the new temperature? So I'm starting at 21 and 1/4 and I'm going up. So what am I doing? I'm adding. So 21 and 1/4 plus 6 and 2/7. To add fractions, you have to have a what? No, they're both fractions, so I'm going to leave it both in fractions. I only change it if one is a fraction and one is a decimal. So I need to have a common denominator. So what's my common denominator for 4 and 7? 28. Because they are multiples of each other. So 4 times 7 is 28, so 1 times 7 is 7. 7 times 4 is 28. And if I multiply the denominator by 4, I need to do the numerator by 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So 7 plus 8 is 15, and you always keep the same denominator, which is 28. And then 21 plus 6 is 27, so your final answer is 27 and 15/28. We have, oh sorry, that would be number 4. 76 divided by a negative 3 and 8/10. You need to write it with the division box. 76 divided by a negative 3.8. When dividing any decimal, you have to move the decimal out. Move it over 1. If I move it over 1 here, I have to do the same inside. So now I have 760 divided by 38. 38 does not go into 7, but it goes into 76. How many times? Well, let's just try 2. 38 times 2. That's 16. 6, it's exactly 2, isn't it? So it'd be 76. Bring down the 0. 38 goes into 0. 0 times. Now, 1 is negative and 1 is positive. When I multiply or divide and at least one of them is negative and if one is negative, one is positive, my answer is going to be a negative 20. It's not always just the sign of the negative number, because sometimes what if I have I'm just gonna bring this up real quick. If I have a negative times a negative, it's not gonna say negative. It will then be positive. And we'll get into more of that later. But because there's an odd number of negatives, it's gonna be negative. Number 5, 7 3/10 times 11/4. This is the one we need to change, because you can't do a decimal and a fraction. So what do we want to change? Which one, the decimal or the fraction? Yeah, that's always easier. I'm going to take 11 divided by 4. 4 goes into 11 twice, which is 8. 11 minus 8 is 3. Add a decimal, bring it up. Bring down a 0. 4 goes into 30. 7 times, which 7 times 4 is 28.
2.
It doesn't repeat. 2. Add a 0. Bring it down. 4 goes into 25 times. So now I have 7.3 times 2.75. You must write it up and down. And I can start with either one. Huh? So I can start with either one. So I'm always going to put the one with the most digits on top. So I'm going to put 2.75 on top times 7.3. When you're multiplying with decimals, you forget that decimal's there and just multiply like by normal. So 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 makes 22. 3 times 2 is 6, 6 plus 2 makes
8.
Cross off what you use so you don't get confused, add a 0. 7 times 5 is
35.
Carry the 3, leave the 5. 7 times 7 is 49 plus 3 is what?
52.
Carry the 5, leave the 2. 7 times 2 is 14 plus 5 makes
19.
Make sure they're all lined up nice and neat. We've got 5, 7, this is 10, so carry the 1. Here's another 10, so carry the 1. Now I count my decimals. 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. Rewrite your answer. And put a box around it. 6 is an equation. X divided by 3 minus 4 equals a negative 20. You should have all have copied the equation. Then you should have all put a line through the equal sign. And then you should all box up the X and whatever's with it for right now. Then I'm going to move the 4 away from it. If I'm subtracting 4 now, I'm going to
Add 4.
and if I added it to this side, I add it to this side. They cancel each other out. What I'm left with on this side is X divided by 3 equals, and then one's negative, one's positive, so I subtract. So it would be 16, but it's a negative 16 because I keep the sign of the bigger number. Then if I'm dividing by 3, oh, I better box them, say, hey, you're not moving. So now I'm gonna multiply by 3, multiply by 3. Those 3's cancel each other out, so I'm left with x. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 makes 4. And that is, we have 1 negative and 1 positive, so it's going to stay negative. Did everybody get that? Okay, going on to number 7. Circle the greatest common factor of 28 x cubed and 16x squared y squared. They did what we were working on the other day, doing the prime factorization of the 27x cubed. And then they did the prime factorization of 16x squared y squared. Circle what they have in common. So the 2's, 2 2's are in common. And they have an x in common. They have 2 x's in common. Now I want you to write it this way. What's 2 times 2?
4.
So it'd be 4. And then we have how many x's?
2.
So it'd be 4x squared. Because x times x is like saying x squared. Circle the common factors of 16a and 20ab. So can 16 and 20 be divided by 2?
Yes.
So I'm going to circle it. What about 2a? If
Yes.
because they both have at least one a.
No.
4, yes, that works, but a works, but why doesn't b work?
Because there isn't a B in the 16.
Because there's no b in the 16a. Does 4 work?
Yup.
Yes.
A.
A?
Yup.
Yes. 8?
Nope.
Because 8 doesn't even work. 4a?
Yup.
Yes, because if 4 works and a works, 4a is gonna work. 12?
Nope.
Go ahead and take a picture with your corrections.